Hello and welcome back to our fourth and final installment for energy and enzymes for Survey of Biology. And we'll wrap it up with a quick one about why is energy essential. So we've looked at energy, we've looked at how enzymes affect the production of energy and metabolism in living systems, but why is energy essential? And there's three main reasons for that. In the body, it can do mechanical work, so that's muscle and movement. It can do transport work, so that's with the cell membrane moving materials in and out. We could talk about protein transport channels in the membrane, and then there's chemical work. So those three things there are why energy is essential. So the energy is just the capacity to do work. It allows living systems to carry out mechanical, transport, or chemical work. And all of these together give us metabolism. So the sum of chemical reactions in an organism is called its metabolism. So that is the digestion, using energy from digestion for movement and such. So the main molecule of metabolism is ATP. So it's adenosine triphosphate. So the A for adenosine, T for tri, P for phosphate. And it's the energy currency of a cell. So when we eat a cupcake or a cheeseburger or some broccoli, whatever it might be, there are nutrients in there, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats or lipids. And we convert those into ATP that we can actually use. So it's the energy currency of the cell. It's an energy carrier. We talked a little bit about coupled reactions, and we will at the end of this unit as well, how ATP is the link between exothermic and endothermic reactions. ATP is broken down to provide energy, and so if we look at the diagram right here, here's the three parts. So we have a nitrogen base. There's the adenosine part. We have a sugar, in this case ribose, and we have three phosphates. There's the triphosphate part. And most of the energy, when it's broken down, is right in that bond between the second and third phosphate. So when we do a hydrolysis reaction to break it down, that's where the energy is released that our body can use. So again, here's another just kind of cartoon representation of it. So we've got the adenosine, we've got our nitrogen base. We've got a sugar, and we've got three phosphates. So this is short-term energy storage. It's a relatively unstable molecule. That's why it's so good for energy. And when we break this last bond between the second and third, we get a lot of energy, and something called ADP, adenosine diphosphate. The bond between the first and the third has a little bit of energy, and that last one has very little energy left in it. So it's really this third bond here between the second and third phosphates that we're really interested in. Okay? And because they allow us to link these two kind of reactions. So the reaction on the left over in the red is called exothermic. Think exterior, gives off energy. Sometimes the term they'll use is exergonic, so you need to be familiar with those too. But if we look here, the products end up at a much lower energy level than the reactants did. So there is a good amount of energy that is being given off by an exothermic reaction. The opposite of that is an endothermic reaction, and this is one that takes in energy. And another term that you might see that means the same thing is endergonic. And as you look here, our reactants start low and we end up high. So there is an input of energy in these ones. So this would be something like photosynthesis, where energy from the sun is provided to make a higher energy molecule such as glucose. So these two reactions will be coupled, exothermic and endothermic, because one gives off heat, the other takes it in, or energy. And that's the idea of coupled reactions. So exothermic reactions provide the energy for endothermic reactions. That's why we've got to eat food in order to produce the energy that we need to carry out our body's metabolism. So we've seen a similar diagram to this, but here's the idea of coupled reactions. So exothermic and endothermic reactions are coupled together. So ATP is used for the endothermic reactions at the end. So if we start over on the left, we have an exothermic reaction. So that's energy from catabolism or digestion. It provides the energy to produce ATP. ATP is then used by the body for endothermic reactions and this idea of cellular work, so mechanical, transport, and chemical. ADP is produced from that, which is then recycled by other exothermic reactions, and we have this cycling of ATP and ADP that powers human metabolism. And finally, we have just a picture of ATP. And again, at the top one, we've got our high energy phosphate bonds between that second and third one right there. And what happens is we alternate between ATP and ADP. So after we've released the energy, that third phosphate is gone. And it's now a low energy molecule. It would have to be recharged by an exothermic reaction to give it some energy back, to get that phosphate back, and it can flip-flop between the two of these. So we can think of ATP and ADP as being charged or uncharged batteries. So the very top one here's our ATP with the 3 phosphates, and that's a fully charged battery. And after it loses that one phosphate, it's an uncharged, it's kind of a depleted energy source. And so in order to recharge, as humans, we need to eat. We need to keep continuing our intake of food. So once again, thanks for your attention, and that wraps up energy and enzymes.